What medical experiments were conducted at Dachau concentration camp? Imagine a place where science and morality clash in the worst way possible. That was Dachau, a Nazi concentration camp where inhumane medical experiments took place. These experiments were carried out by Nazi doctors who worked closely with the SS and military. They did not ask for consent and often caused terrible suffering or death. One of the most infamous experiments was the high-altitude study. Prisoners were placed in chambers that simulated heights up to 68,000 feet. The goal was to understand how airmen might survive ejections from planes at high altitudes. Prisoners endured decompression and extreme physical trauma. Out of about 200 men tested, all either died during the experiments or were killed afterward. Another cruel experiment involved hypothermia. Prisoners were immersed in ice water or left naked in freezing weather to see how cold exposure affected the body. The aim was to find ways to treat soldiers suffering from cold. Many prisoners died or suffered long-term injuries from these tests. Malaria experiments were also common. Over 1,200 inmates were deliberately infected with malaria by exposing their limbs to infected mosquitoes. After infection, they were given various drugs to see if they could cure the disease. More than half of these prisoners died or were left with permanent disabilities. Some prisoners were used to test seawater for drinking. They were forced to drink seawater treated with different methods to see if it could be made safe. The methods often failed, causing dehydration and suffering. Prisoners were also injected with diseases like tuberculosis, typhus, typhoid fever, yellow fever, and hepatitis. The purpose was to test vaccines and treatments. Many of these experiments resulted in death or lifelong illness. In addition, some prisoners had their wounds deliberately infected with bacteria. The doctors studied how infections spread and tested treatments. Wounds were often reopened without anesthesia to observe how infections progressed. There were also experiments to stop bleeding, and some prisoners were dissected alive to study how the body functions. Psychological torture was used to break prisoners mentally. All these acts were driven by Nazi goals to advance military and racial ideas. The horrors at Dachau led to the creation of the Nuremberg Code after the war. This set rules for human experiments, including voluntary consent and avoiding unnecessary pain. Remembering what happened at Dachau reminds us why ethics in medicine are so important. It is a stark lesson about how medicine can be misused when morality is ignored.